see a Beppis, but what's a big Beppis?
It's a Beppis, but
A
large.
large
This
Beppis.
is just a larger Beppis.
Take Beppis, make large.
Got it.
Supersize.
In a largen.
I think it might have something to do with lips from a brief Google search for images. I
Not
could
quite.
be wrong. It also might have something to do with a Shiba Inu.
It's literally just Pepsi.
And there's a guy that has been in my roll 20 for literally the past month. I'm not sure who he is, who invited him, or where he came from, named Haro.
He's dead.
He probably died on his.
Don't ask. He's dead.
Okay, I'm not sure how
Kill
why
him.
you're so confident about that. Alright, here's the link to the roll 20
I'm already in it.
for anyone.
Oh, he's fucking dead.
Is Vic here?
Cool.
No, Vic is not here. I don't know.
Who's
Should we wait?
should we wait?
Well, she's not online.
She's dead.
Wait, who's Vic?
The other person I told you about.
Okay, look, here's how life is. I can host a campaign for up to 5 people. So you might have to sacrifice one of them.
Okay.
Bite their throat out and hand it to John.
Don't do that. I don't want that throw. I know nothing to do with that murder if that's the route you're choosing to take. But
Yes,
I
he does.
can't
He's
do
lying
it.
to you.
6 people might be a bit much. I mean, ultimately, it's up to other players if they're cool with it, because ultimately it's going to be their time that's going to be drawn out for 6 people. But
I'm cool, 6 people.
I'd prefer 5 at the most, just because if
But I would prefer everyone get a chance if possible.
I'm good with 6 or 5. I don't really care either way as long as everybody's not a dickhead.
Well, I'm sorry.
So-
Alright, well, I mean, that you admitted it is,
I have a dick on my head. I'm sorry.
oh,
Can't do anything about it.
listen, I'm sorry, I didn't know your life was like that.
alright, so what was the consensus? Who said what?
So, I'd prefer 5 people if people really want to have the 6 or whatever. I'm okay with stepping out of the campaign. I've just found that having too many people makes it a little bit harder for games that like prioritize a lot of RP, just because there's a lot of times where there's not enough like time during a session for people to have screen time for themselves and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, that's kind of where I stand with it.
Are we going to be in a heavy RP game?
Yeah.
That was my understanding from the post of
Hey, Parker,
hmm?
can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
How big is your Beppis?
I have no idea, my dude.
What?
I have no idea.
Might be a very big Beppis.
Come on. I don't think you can say that regular.
What?
You can't just ask. Okay.
How big is your Beppis, John?
I don't want any part of this conversation.
I actually prefer Coke.
So we're gonna have to cap it at 5 then. So we have to choose one of you to sacrifice. Which one of you wants to die for the name of the campaign?
Take me, coach. I'm ready.
Not you.
Oh.
One of the summonees.
I guess I will go, and then I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'll leave.
Well, I think by virtue of not being here, yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to have Vic kicked out. I'll leave, and if she wants to leave too, that's fine. But yeah, I'll leave.
Sure.
All right. Well, bye.
Later, buddy.
Who was that?
I met them for 12 seconds. I have no idea who they are. I don't know these people, to be fair, but problem solved.
I solved a lot of problems.
So what's up? Next step. Characters. What are you guys thinking about characters?
I want to play a Furbolg who has a lot of cats.
Wait. Okay. Well, okay. What is? I'm sorry. Cats. All right. Are these cats supposed to be relevant for something, or?
They're just like pets, but they're just like cats, and I like them.
Okay, you have a bunch of cats. Are these coming with you, or?
Yeah.
See, everywhere you walk around, you're going to have a group of cats with.
Cat-themed wizard. My spells are cat-based.
How? Okay. How are your spells cat-based?
You know Fireball?
Yeah.
Comes out as a hairball.
Okay, I'm not sure if you're fucking with me or not. Because you do
Can
make
it not be that
extraordinary,
I like the idea of the
extravagant
character? Can it not be that I like the idea of the character, but I'm also fucking with you?
shit. Sure, let's go ahead and take that one.
Because I do like the idea of a character. Maybe not, spitting up hairballs, but the cat lady thing is fun.
That is convenient, so I don't have to have a billion cats in my campaign. Not sure if I want to dabble in RPing a group of cats.
You don't have to RP the cats. I'll RP the cats. It's fine.
Your RP. Oh, so you are serious about the cat idea?
I mean, I'm serious about it insofar as I like the idea of the cat lady. The fuck is this?
Okay, I guess I would like to warn you that this is a very dangerous world, and I don't want to kill
They're
your
magic cats.
Like Find Familiar? Like you want to just have Find Familiar and reflavor it as just a group of cats instead of one familiar?
They are emergency rations, is what I think.
No, we don't eat the cats. We don't do that.
I mean, I guess
I'm
if
gonna
you... What's up? Alright, later, buddy. I guess
The
if you
cats
have,
were too
like...
much. I'm sorry.
No, he was, with, Mabel, who left. Well, anyways, if you want to reflavor Find Familiar as, like, I guess more than one cat, I don't particularly mind. It makes no mechanical difference. As long as they don't, aggressively derail the campaign every time they show up as a joke thing.
Okay.
You can play a druid at level 5. You get conjure animals. You can make a whole bunch of panthers.
I don't
Or
want
something.
panthers though. I want house cats.
Well, I mean, you can do that as well with it. It just needs to be a certain CR creature, and I think house cats will be fine with that. Just pop up your.
I kind of
level
also
5
like the
spell.
idea of them being magical cats, so that when I cast a spell through them and they do fireball, it is a magic hairball.
Gotcha.
John, do you like my cats?
I hate cats.
I know
Well,
you hate cats. You like my cats.
I'm not gonna lie. Probably don't like your cat. Never met it, but probably don't like it.
Oh. I meant my cat's in the game. I don't actually have a cat in real life. I have a dog in real life.
Now, I haven't met your in-game cat yet, but I also probably don't like it.
That's
There's a
okay.
running theme of me and hating cats.
That's okay. As an aside, unrelated to that, all of the cats are named John.
All right, I'll keep that in mind for future reference. John 1 through how many cats did you plan on having?
700.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll cap it at like 6 or 7 at a time. I don't know.
6 or 7 cats.
I heard a cat.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
it's 11:30. My cat's
Fucking
being
John over
active.
there. But cats have been extinct for centuries.
you can't.
It's impossible.
Possibly have summoned and aroused your cats once based on this conversation. All right, Fuzzy, what are you doing, buddy?
Hey, we talked about it a little bit. I didn't write any more of the backstory since the last time we talked, just because I wanted to have a little bit more stable ground. Essentially, I was planning to play one of the Beastkin, a Naga, snake person, basically. I do want to mesh the backstory in with another player, if it's possible. So if either Furby or the Juice wants to work with me on backstory, we can chat a little bit longer. But essentially, grew up somewhat isolated initially, near a small village. Had a mother and a sister. Father is unknown. Eventually, they were captured through a few events and were brought to the city of Brass, which then, because of the rarity of her kind, she was a commodity for the nobles for a large portion, like following after the capture, and then after that, something happened. Ended up finding herself fighting for her life in the gladiator arena, not by her choice. The portion that I need one of you guys with, either during this time for when she breaks out of the arena, or a couple years down the line when she is free, to meet, so that it is an easier entryway for me and my character to be introduced to the group dynamic. So I don't know what your characters are, what you plan with your characters, but that would be pretty cool to do.
Let me just ask you this real fast.
So
So it's like a naga, right?
what?
Like a body, like a lady body, and then
Yeah.
the bottom half is a snake, right?
Yeah.
Are we talking like a cloaca situation here, or
A what?
like a cloaca situation?
I'm not sure. What is that? Sorry.
Oh dear.
It's a snake's vagina.
Oh.
Well, no, it's not a snake's vagina. Listen, John. First of all, a cloaca is a beautiful, magical, multi-purpose orifice. Okay, first of all, um, that can be either a vagina, a sperm receptacle, or a fucking asshole. Also, so figure your shit out, okay?
You're right.
Ever fucking call it that again?
Is that her?
Yeah, that's what I was planning. I haven't done that development for her. To be
Look,
honest.
you don't have to. Don't
Yeah.
worry about it. That's not what normal people do.
Yeah.
Can I
I
just
was
make? Can I make a
planning.
request?
Sure.
No.
Please don't do this abhorrent thing that people are doing in monster designs now, where they give like, it's like her body is part human, part snake, but she still has an ass and also a vagina, like in human form.
Right.
Look,
I
just
hate
don't
it, and I
think
don't
that,
like it.
I just don't think that he thought that deep into it. I feel as though.
You know what, John?
Yeah,
I have
okay.
to think that into it because there's this fucking spider lady who's like, her body is a spider, but the top half is a human, but she has two asses, and I don't like it.
I don't know what you're talking about. I can't. I couldn't possibly know what you're talking
All
about.
right,
It's
hold on one
literally
second. I'll
impossible.
show you what I'm talking about.
All right. Anyways,
We'll probably use is juice here.
Yeah.
We'll probably use juice. We'll use juice, and we'll get a
so
I can
so
get a competent person.
so
Okay,
I
go
don't know if you read through. I'm reading through a book series called The Band recently, and a lot of the character concept came from that, and then mixed
Okay.
it with a couple other book series that I've read in the past. But
Okay, real fast. John,
What?
you see that spider lady?
I see it.
All right. Here is canonically what she looks like from behind.
Why would you bother saying this? What did you have the game?
I'm mad. I'm mad about it, John, is what? Why does she. Why?
I can't tell you, Furby. I would have no idea as to who's compelled to draw these creatures to begin with. Better yet, why she has two asses.
Why
But-
does she have two asses?
No clue.
I'm
Juice,
very upset about the asses on this arachnid.
Furby, I'm gonna need you to concentrate. Very
Okay.
hard.
I'm sorry.
I need you to concentrate a little harder.
Alright.
Alright. Juice, buddy, what's up?
Alright. So, I don't know if you got a chance to read through the backstory that I wrote, or not.
I had no idea you even sent me one, so.
Okay, well, it's all in the character sheet.
Oh, you mean like
So-
on the Roll20?
Yeah. So I designed a wizard they are a stage background. The subclass is um, X the Xanathar's Guide um, War Wizard. As far as their backstory, I kind of did like a sort of semi-tragic backstory. So basically, I mean, you can read through it. I wrote like I don't know about probably like 4 or 5 paragraphs. Um, basically, he grew up in like a lesser noble family um, that was sort of stationed out in the countryside, where the primary family business was managing a group of tenant farmers. Um, the long and short of it is he uh, fell in love with one of the tenant farmers' daughters. Parents didn't approve, ran away with her. She died of a disease, um, some unknown plague. When he came back, he found out that it had actually swept through the whole town, killed mostly everybody, including his parents. He kind of fell into a depression. His avenue for escape was books. So he sort of buried himself in a bunch of stories, and then eventually he read a book about a master wizard and was inspired to start spending what limited resources he had remaining, acquiring sort of the rudiments of magical learning. He did that successfully, but spent all of his money, and so you know, there are some more like interesting details on what he had to go through to finally get magic to work for him in the backstory. Um, but you know, it's that's sort of the long and short of it.
Okay.
Would you?
Um,
Okay.
go ahead, buddy.
Would you be interested in mixing sort of the end portion of your backstory together? Because from my understanding, default, you want to run this sort of as us being in a guild. Um, that I'm not entirely sure the purpose of the guild just yet, but
Like the purpose of the guild is, I guess, whatever you guys want it to be. Ultimately, I would like it so that there's like a decent reason for you to be able to, quote unquote, hire NPCs and have them with you, because they're like some 5e is a bit limiting in some aspects, and I kind of want like the opportunity to throw more complex things at you. In order to do that, I need more people, but I don't want to bother with the whole. I have to run a campaign for 7 people, so this is supposed to solve it.
so what are you trying to run as far as like what do you think you're being limited by the system?
Well, like there are fights,
Mhm.
and I want them to be. I don't want the fight just to be like I show up, I like shoot my bow, and then I end my turn. I want it to be more involving than that. I also want like the things that monsters can do or enemies can do to be more diverse. Like, so ideally, I would appreciate it if there was like a circumstance in which I could show off an ability, but the ability doesn't automatically kill whoever I show it off to. Is
Um,
a specific
yeah.
duration, but like there are just a bunch of mechanics for dungeons and fights that I want to do that I think would need more than quote unquote one chance. But I also don't want to just kill you all off. And I
So,
figure NPCs can act as a decent second chance if used correctly, even if it's just to scout the area because you don't want to like risk your life doing it.
okay, so like, can you give me an example as to what you? I guess what do you see one of these like abilities being that would require a second chance, or I'm not entirely clear just yet.
No problem. So, NPCs are good at specific things, and this campaign has I forgot what they call. I think they're called oracles or whatever. as like a canon resource that you can use or pull from.
Mm.
So, like, there could be NPCs that are good at getting information, NPCs that are really good at like perceiving, or NPCs that can literally see an instance into the future. And the only reason I can like get a buff to a person that allows them to see into the future is by having an NPC, because a player, I can't give that same thing to a player.
Okay.
There's no way I can predict what the player is going to do, why the player
Yeah.
is going to do it, and if he's going to take heed of my advice or do something crazy that I can't predict. But I can definitely predict what this Oracle NPC is going to do because I made her.
I see. So essentially, if I'm understanding correctly, you want us to hire NPCs basically to like fill in the gaps that our party can't do. So, for example, if we don't have a scout, like a ranger or something that's stealthy, you want us to be able to rely on a NPC to do that portion of
Right.
the. Okay.
But it grows a bit more than that, because there are like some things where I can't expect a D&D class to do it to begin with, and there are like some instances where it's like maybe you just want to like do two things at once, but that's impossible to do with the amount of people you have, or the fact that of course you'd have to do that in 2 sessions. Like, you can tell your NPC to do a specific thing or take a specific quest, and they have a specific chance in order to pass that quest on and so forth, and that saves a lot of time already.
So, how do you envision us acquiring these NPCs then? Is it like we have a foundation that we are part of, a guild or some sort of adventuring hall, and then we bring people in with whatever resources we have? Or do you see us being a group that travels together that is essentially either trying to, try to either live or trying to do something specific within like a region, and then through the campaign we will find NPCs like a little bit more organically that then will join us? Or do you see this as like employers and the NPCs as our employees?
Give me a second.
No worries. Because it might be easier if we have a basis or a baseline to start, like a situation within a region or something like that, like an initial goal that is happening within the region, or something like that, or initial like plot hooks, I guess, that we can focus tying in the ends of our backstories together, so that we have like a reason to be there when the campaign begins.
Right. So, in this particular case, you'd want to set up a place. You can make one yourself. You can buy one. Like, I ran this session a couple of times with a couple of different groups. Most groups opt into the whole "I'll just buy one" plan, but you need a base of operations first and foremost, because it's just handy to have somewhere to like sleep for night for free, meals, farms, whatever, so we don't have to worry about like the whole food thing over long durations of time.
Sure.
So on and so forth. But you want to have a base. If you'd rather have a foothold of like a first mission as opposed to, because how it goes is that every time you come into town, there are a series of events that can happen or trigger, and those events lead into like separate quote unquote books, and those separate quote unquote books have like things that can change the environment around you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you'd rather, I can just give you one of the books to start with. Like, I can say, you guys heard a rumor of such and such, and look into it.
Yeah, it might be easier just to situate ourselves because of that, but um, I guess it depends on if we're already established or not, and how long the characters have been together, how well they know each other, and all that kind of stuff, right? That all kind of factors in as well.
Yeah, sure, that's up to you guys, though, on how long you guys know each other. But, pick 1 through 10, I'll give you a book.
6.
Oh, I guess we're very long.
4.
Wait. can't both pick. You gotta decide on one number.
Oh,
That's just
wait.
the book I'm looking at.
I see. Okay.
I can go with 4, man. It's all good.
Sure. Which one of you guys is from Prime? Prime is a place where all the wizards are born, usually.
I'm pretty sure that my character would be mostly. I mean, most of her knowledge would be around the city of Brass, right? So.
Should I be a wizard if somebody else is a wizard, or should I be something else?
You could be a wizard. You both can be wizards. They just specialize in 2 different things.
Can we have a wizard fight?
You could have a wizard fight. I don't know what the
Who's a better wizard?
Oh, okay. I respect it. That's reason enough to have a wizard fight. But if none of you are from Prime, I'll get you a reason to be there. Don't worry, I'm pretty good at this.
Okay, so Prime's top left. Well, I mean, what? So, what are the views in that region as to Beastkin and their treatment and all that kind of stuff?
They don't really talk, so they don't really care. I mean, I guess they care in the regards that, like, everybody has an overall negative impression of Beastkin, but they wouldn't care enough to vocalize it, and they definitely wouldn't care enough to talk to you. They definitely wouldn't care enough to belittle you unless you spoke to them directly, so on and so forth. So a Beastkin can live in Prime and have, like, a really honest, long life without much prejudice, but
Okay.
you know, nobody talks to you, so I guess you're a bit isolated.
Okay. So, I mean, I can say I wasn't born there, but perhaps that's a place that I ended up going after the whole arena escapade and have been there for maybe 2 years, give or take. Perhaps taking smaller jobs and building, something up for myself through that time until this, guild is set up or something like that. And then perhaps I don't know if Juice, you want to be up there. We could have met at some point. And worked together. Perhaps I don't know what your character would have done afterwards. My character's a ranger. Would probably know the lands fairly well after a while being up there. So perhaps you hired my services or something like that, or I don't know if that works for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that'll definitely work. I don't know about hiring your services. I would think so. My character basically was broke when he left his home,
Mhm.
so I think he would, his main motivation is basically, um, he wants to obtain, enough magic in order to basically undo the past, right?
Mhm.
Which is obviously, that's really high level shit, right? So he's on this like he realizes it's going to be like a long quest, and what he needs are resources. So he's probably, kind of in search of old spell books or those sorts of things um, to help him on that quest.
Okay.
So in that sense, I guess it would be most like, but it would obviously he also needs monetary resources. So I don't know. Maybe we both joined the same. Maybe we both were hired on as guards for a caravan or something like that.
How's this? Because I do want there to be a little bit more of I guess, a bond between the characters, just because it'll make
Oh yeah.
the entrance easier, at least for myself, because I'm playing something fairly non-traditional, right? Um, what's it called? So perhaps
How are Beastkin regarded in the world? Just so I have a good understanding of that.
default you're muted if you're talking.
How
Guys, I'll be right back.
He's asking about the Beastkin, how they're treated within the world and how they're viewed.
Got it, Freddy. And they pretty overall negatively. Like, not many people enjoy Beastkin. They're considered second-rate citizens at best.
But they're like tolerated. People don't think they're
They're
evil.
taken
Like
advantage of. Oh no, a lot of people think they're like their entire being is evil, because a lot of them share qualities with some of the things that were killing people. But
Okay.
Like right now, they're used more than tolerated. Like why, like stone one when you can have one work a farm for you for the next 2 years.
Okay, I gotcha. It's like it's okay, so they're sort of
They're
I guess
multi-purpose
they're
slaves
an
and
underclass basically.
they're way less than the underclass. They're multi-purpose slaves in entertainment. The entertainment type is always violent and negative to them in some horrible way. And they
Okay.
just sort of have to tank it. I mean, I guess they could like resist and be attacked by like a majority, but
Yeah, that's kind of
Okay,
more of
alright.
her background. So I mean, I think perhaps if you're willing to do this, with your backstory, your the plague going through and you becoming quite studied and etc. I don't know if it's possible at some point during your studies to have picked up a little bit of medicine or at least know first aid, and find my character a little bit injured or something like that, or in a bad position. Um, I don't know what your I guess what alignment you're leaning towards, but if you're a little bit more, oh sorry, God, if you're gonna,
Oh, I was gonna say, I mean, I think that totally works.
mm-hmm.
In terms of saying, I think I don't know if I did I take medicine? I don't think I took medicine, but I mean, not that I can't change that over. Um, so I guess
I think your
my
mic cut out.
character to fine.
Yeah,
Oh, I was just trying to think how exposed my character was to Beastkin, and like, so if he happened to cross a wounded one, I guess I would think he would probably um, help it, presumably. I mean, my alignment I think is neutral, but I mean, not that I don't know how seriously we're taking alignment in this.
it was more
Um,
of a question as like a basis if you would actually help with help readily, or if you'd be more hesitant, or if you would demand something back for the help, rather than like you know strict alignment question.
I think he would probably just, if he could help, he would probably help. Although I think it might your person's like a druid, right? Or
It's
no,
a
sorry,
ranger.
a
It's
ranger.
yeah.
So so rangers get access to um
Magic,
some
yes.
level of healing magic too, right?
Yeah, what I had envisioned in my mind, right,
Yep.
would be, and this can tie in for your character as well. Perhaps there was a rune of some sort that was within Prime, an old portion of the country that perhaps didn't see a lot of foot travel. Perhaps it was one of the places that was destroyed by the old Beastkin horde a long time ago. Um, and I think we can go down two different pathways here. Either one, um, I as a ranger was taking a small band of, I guess, explorers or would be runes robbers or something like that over to these runes that I've been to before. Something happened, something had taken residence within it, and I left the explorers injured, left my character injured, exhausted, out of spell slots, and then your character came in afterwards, because you also heard these rumors and you were looking for either a spell book or some perhaps hidden secret that was within the runes that might propel your own character's ambition forward. Um,
wait,
yeah.
not to cut you off or anything. Juice. You said that your character started off as a normal dude and became a wizard, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so a small warning. That's not exactly how magic works in this realm, but I mean, I'm cool with it because we can just slap a prodigy title on you and then make you semi-famous because of it. Because you're not supposed to be able to learn magic. You're supposed to be born with the innate ability, and if you don't have that innate ability at birth, you just don't have it. So your
Yeah,
character like studied enough to will himself to have magic somehow, so we can work on a background thing for that later.
gotcha. Okay, yeah, I think that works. I mean, you can read through. I kind of wrote um a piece about that whole process. If you want to read it, it's in the character backstory. But yeah, just let me know how you
Rewind,
wanna
guys, bro.
modify it, and I'm sure it'll be good.
I mean, because you're going to get like abilities and specific things to your character based on your background. So if we go that route, I can do a bit with that. I can easily make you an adversary and an aid with that way.
Okay, cool. That sounds good to me. Yeah, I think as far as working with the background
What's your
together,
character's name in this? Oh wait, bro,
I have it as Alexander Brennenberg right now,
I got it. I'm on
um,
Alexander.
and
He looks insane. Is Alexander Brennan insane?
oh, is he insane? No, he's eccentric. I
Okay.
mean, the thing is, he so after after basically everyone he knew died, right? He spent the next like 5 years, or I mean, I don't know about 5 years. He spent like 2 years just in his own head, like reading fantasy books, depressed, just like in this library, um, and only talking to like his servants. So he's a little eccentric. Um, and then
Was he right?
for the next couple years after that, he'd spent studying magic, right? And again, isolated. And so he's a little eccentric, but I wouldn't say he's crazy. Um, he's focused on what he wants, and his social skills aren't like he's not going to be a social butterfly exactly. Um, he's gonna kind of say what he wants, uh, pretty much. Although
I mean, it's cool. It'll fit like having a beast kid in your party better. Oh wait, technically you have two because Furby would be considered one as well.
Oh,
She's
okay.
a Furbolg.
Oh, Furbolg? Okay, cool.
If you want to do this, perhaps it's not that long after that we formulate our own sort of group. Um, I'd like the you know.
Wait, hold on, really quick. Okay, as a model for your group, you can like fight for the equality of beastkin, and then you can employ more beastkin than regular people. I can warn you ahead of time that like people will hate the shit out of your guild and hire them on a need help basis, but
Um, I'm not entirely sure where my character would stand with any of that just yet.
on equality
Um,
for beastkin,
huh?
on equality for beastkin.
Well, so the way I'm considering, right, her experience within the city of Brass made her wise to the way the world functions and all that kind of thing. And I mean, she's met quite a few beastkin in her position, and she would probably be adamantly against what the city of Brass is doing, what it's done to her, and what it does to others that are forced against their will, and she'd be outspoken. But I'm not entirely sure if I would um, necessarily force that agenda among the party. I'd probably have to see how the character developed a little bit more before I could give you a concrete answer on that. But I mean, uh, what I'm thinking honestly is not too long after we meet in the ruins, perhaps I don't know if Vic or another of the players that you have, perhaps they're someone that is more rich and has something established that me and Juice join, um, rather than us being founders right off the bat. I don't know if that works for you, but I mean, like, you're probably not going to be super rich. I don't think my character is going to be overly rich either. Um, so we'll probably need someone that is rich, or default if you're wanting to do this right, because you're using NPCs to sort of fill in the gaps for our party. It wouldn't be out of line to have a patron benefactor that funds us or funds our expeditions or something like that, like a booker or something, which maybe it's an NPC's agenda that we're following, if that works. Maybe an oracle that you talked about that sort of sees the future and sort of pulls us in or something like that. I'm not sure. But I don't know how you guys feel about that either as PCs.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would definitely work. I was actually just thinking a little bit more about like how we came to be in the same ruins, right? And that like detail and stuff. I think that'll work really well. I think, the idea that my character sort of like read about some ruins where there might be magic, right? Like immediately after leaving his, house, and and then basically traveled there and found you in the ruins, right?
Mhm.
And then we like joined up and whatever. Uh, Probably left because it was probably too dangerous, something like that. Planning to return later.
Yeah.
And then yeah, and then I don't know about with respect to Furby's character. Um, when we would meet up with her. But yeah, the idea of having, basically us all, meeting her and then working for somebody. And probably, I mean, we're level 3, which is
Yeah.
like, you know, maybe you're helping. It's not super high. You're not taking on like gods and demons and shit. You're, probably just, um,
Help and clear out some in basements of rat infestations and perhaps.
yeah, maybe goblins, but
Yeah.
like not yeah,
Yeah,
not much more than that. But
Level
So-
3 people are pretty strong, though. Like,
So-
in terms of, like, compared to normal people. at
compared
least.
to regular, yeah, compared to like a peasant or something, yes. Compared to like a
You
lot
look
of
at capable farmer, like a level 3 character is, like, a lot more powerful.
oh yeah.
I think it just
But
depends on how you. Sorry. I think it just depends on how you scale your world, right? Because if you look at like regiments of soldiers that were specifically trained and that kind of thing, then it scales a little bit differently. And even if you give PC levels to NPCs within your towns, and I'm not sure, but sorry, I don't know. Would you be down with the idea of running a patron for us then, default? Perhaps somebody that has an agenda, but
Running a lot.
a patron. So like, we wouldn't be the ones that are the leaders of a guild establishment or anything like that. We would have somebody that has a lot of money, perhaps a very successful merchant or a powerful noble or something like that. It doesn't even have to be something that's direct. Perhaps it's shadow funded. But essentially, maybe they have the idea that beasts can deserve better rights, or perhaps they have ambitions within this country or within this world, but they don't have capable hands to enact this. Then our characters become those capable hands, and then we have a sort of a working relationship with an NPC where we're both equally depending on each other. They're depending on us to be able to complete various tasks and jobs, and to be to have a certain mannerism, I suppose, as we're doing it, and then vice versa. We have an interesting relationship with this NPC because you know they're providing us the funding, they're providing us life. Perhaps even there's a threat if we leave or if we betray them, that there's going to be a lot of repercussion because of the power of this person's pockets. But at least at the start, and seeing how the campaign progresses, we'll be on the same page. We'll be working towards a similar goal. Would you be right?
Yeah, I can hire like a boss type guy to a boss with interest in the success of your guild, private interest in the success of your guild. I mean, and would you like that through the entire campaign, or do you only need it for like the initiating?
I mean, I think we're talking here just initially, right, for when we begin. But as the campaign progresses, it just depends on how interactions go and how the campaign progresses. Because I wouldn't say, okay, by session 10 we want to get rid of this person. It really just depends on what happens within those 10 sessions and how it flows and how it naturally happens. At least that's generally how like I'd prefer to play.
Okay.
You know.
So this is a bit shaky ground because there is like a bit of a blatant negative when like you have like an NPC that tells you what to do all the time. Because I don't know, a lot of players don't enjoy the same thing. So like if I can do it, if you guys agree with it, if you guys are cool with it, I don't care, I don't mind. But if that is the case, I would like some guidelines on how far or how not far like the
Mhm.
players should go or the NPC should go because I don't
Well,
I don't like
the idea. Sorry.
okay, you go do something you fuck wads and then you guys are like, well, we can't actually kill him. That angers me.
So, I mean, I feel like it's important to establish like a stable ground firstly, then, right? Where the NPC will be on the same page as us out of game, right? In the sense that we discuss as players what we're interested in doing, what our kind of character goals are, what we want this guild's goals to be, or even if it's individualistic, right? And then the NPC is also on the same agenda, right? So say everyone agrees that we want to fight for beastkin rights, right? Then this NPC is also interested in fighting for beastkin rights, and then that, things that we do at that point will be progressing towards that kind of stuff. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas. I'm not like sold on this on the patron either. If we want to do something else, I'm totally down for it. Even if Vic or another player that you bring in wants to be the sort of the man that provides the money and that kind of stuff, I'm fine with that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good either way. My thought is, I mean, I don't know. I can't. Default NPC. What's your actual name that I can refer to you by?
John.
John. Okay. All right. So, John, I don't know what you think about this. My thought is, I think initially we will. So the so is your thought that um Furby, Fuzz and I would have formed a guild already, and that our guild would be working towards some overarching goal that the three of us agreed upon? Is that sort of the vision you have?
Well, you guys don't have to agree upon the same goal. Like a guild's growth can, supply multiple people's goals. I would prefer that you guys had some sort of common ground to initiate the campaign with. That way, we don't have to do the whole, this person is sitting at a bar drinking and wait and be antisocial until someone notices or whatever, because that just wastes a lot of time.
Gotcha.
I mean, if that's something you guys enjoy, you can do that also. It's completely up to you.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think we need to bother with that. I think starting with the idea that all of us know each other. Here's an example of how I think it could work, right? So level 3, we're not wealthy, we're not like super powerful. Yeah, we might not be like regular people anymore. Um, but we're still, going to be investing in getting better, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of that in the early levels is monetary, right? You can advance by getting money. So my thought is, maybe we all know each other because we were all hired to do the same, simple job, right? Um, Whatever that was. Coming out of that, you know, um, we worked well together. The job went well. We got a little bonus, whatever, and we decided, hey, we're gonna make a thing of it. And rather than having the guild be focused around some like overarching goal, maybe the goal is just let's work together and make some good money so we each can sort of work towards what we want, right?
I'm good with that, and I think if there's an overarching goal that happens, having it happen naturally and playing out as the campaign, you know, gets into the later stages is sometimes better than having an overarching goal right at the beginning too.
Right, and especially because like you can see it, especially if I'm human, and there are two beastkin that I'm working with, and that we worked well together and everything, then I would value, that my character would value those relationships, right?
Mhm.
And so if he saw them being treated badly as class citizens when he knows they're more capable, then he would probably not take well to that. Um, so you can see those sort of themes evolving out of just sort of a basic, um, you know, call it a guild, call it a working agreement, right? Um, but working together as a team to, to earn some money, and learn stuff, right?
Yeah.
So does that work, John?
Yeah, I'm cool. I mean, like ultimately, that's up for like your guys' comfort. I don't particularly mind how I start the campaign. I've already started in a billion different types of ways.
Okay,
It's whatever makes you more comfortable because I'm only concerned with the things after that.
gotcha. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with what we just discussed. I think that'll work.
Sure.
And Fuzz, if you want to connect offline about any details with respect to the backstories, I'll probably write that part of it into my backstory, and then
Mhm.
I can send it to you.
Yeah,
Um,
sounds good.
and then Furby, are you still around?
I'm always here.
Okay, cool. Does all that sound good to you, or
Yeah, man, I'm good with whatever.
okay, man? Uh-huh. All right, yeah, that sounds good.
All
All
right,
right.
I'll meet with you guys privately and work on your passive whatever in your background shit. And we
S
have to like decide on like a day and a time.
I'm pretty much Friday would be the day that works best for me. I don't have work on Friday, so I'm free pretty much the entire day. So I usually don't work on Saturdays either. So if we need to do a late night session, I don't mind. Um, I guess I don't want to play until like 2 a.m. or something like that, but yeah.
Yep, pretty much every evening, as long as I know in advance, works for me. I am not free during the day, Monday through Friday, as I work regular working hours. And that's pretty much it.
I work most days except Thursday and every other weekend.
Okay, so we could do Thursday nights, or would Wednesday nights be better?
Wednesday nights would be good.
I can't do Wednesday nights. Thursday nights might be possible. Um, yeah, Thursday nights would probably be
Okay.
fine.
Well, we have to stop by 1 a.m. because that's when I have to go to bed to get up for work in the next morning.
Sure. I mean, I think that's reasonable. I can be home by 5:30 on Wednesdays.
I
Um,
don't get home until after 8.
oh, until after
Uh,
8 p.m. on sorry, not Wednesdays, Thursdays. I'm saying.
To be fair, I don't
did
get home until 11 on the third.
Oh, okay.
did Fridays work or no?
I mean, if okay, I'm off Friday and Saturday, so I don't give a shit. And any day, like I usually get off about 10:30. Sometimes I may have to do an EOD report or whatnot. In that case, I get off at 10:45, and I usually get home around 11 to 11:10. That in mind, I can do any day from 11 or 11:10 onwards, and Saturdays and Fridays all day.
Okay.
If
Yeah.
anything, we could probably do like what weekends are you off, Kirby?
Huh?
Weekends are you off?
I'm off this weekend and then the one after the next one. So, every other.
So we can either do it like a Friday night, because that would sound easier,
Mhm.
or Friday evening or
We
whatever.
could do it every other Friday night.
Because that way I don't go to work the next day, and you don't go to work the next day, and neither does Furby. And You said you were available each night, right, Juice?
Yeah. Any evening is good for me.
There you go.
Okay, so if we do bi-weekly Friday, what time would the session be beginning?
I guess it
Once
doesn't-
again, it would have to be after 8.
So like 8:30 until 12:30 is the time frame we're looking at, or?
Yeah, I don't know about like consistent. Well, yeah, sure. I don't care. Doesn't matter.
John's like, fuck it, whatever, man.
Well, like as an average, I don't. It doesn't need to be like overly consistent with that those hours, but as an average thing, right? Because
Yeah. We can just start at whatever 30 and go however long.
Okay.
8:30. I'm sorry. I remember. I don't know.
8:30 works
Okay.
for you, Furby?
Huh?
On Fridays, 8:30 works for you.
As long as it's every other Friday, then yeah, because then I don't have to get home and do anything. I just get home and play.
Okay.
Hey, John.
Yeah, what's up?
This has nothing to do with what we're currently discussing, but were you there? Did Tal ever tell you about the dude who pitched a fit in my server and then was saying that it was Tal's fault that his game had died because he was the DM and therefore he was in charge of all scheduling?
I was not there.
Okay, because I just thought of that and it made me laugh when I thought about it.
Wait, am I in charge of scheduling?
I don't think so.
I have part of it, just like everyone else.
I mean, I guess we all have a part of it, though. Like, you know.
But whatever. Rando's playing D&D is garbage. You gotta vet everyone, otherwise it goes bad. If you don't vet, you have a horrible time.
Mm-hmm.
Reasonable.
Is that I have over 32 replies right now on both Discord and Reddit combined. A lot of their post histories are just not people I'd want to talk with. Like we have like people on. I found out there was a subreddit called Free Acts of Blowjob.
Sorry?
Oh
There's
yeah.
a subreddit called Free Acts of Blowjobs or something like that. And
Yep.
the whole point is to post on that site that you want a blowjob and wait until somebody replies. And one of these dudes was 32, and he's posted on that site a lot of times. A lot of
I mean, I guess he wants a lot of
Of course.
blowjobs, you know.
mind you. I think there was. I don't know. I guess maybe they PM or whatever, but they'll post a lot of times. I'm like, I don't want to play a game with that guy. I really don't.
I mean, that's valid, right? Nobody wants to
Yeah.
play a game with that guy. Nobody wants to play a game with Blowjob Johnson.
Fundamentally odd thing to do with your free time.
I mean, it's pretty fucked up, but I don't know. I mean, people are.
I mean, even in like if I were going to say sign up for anything or speak to anyone outside of that particular subreddit, like why didn't he just make an alt? Why would he?
I
Why
don't
would he
know.
think that
right?
everybody thought that was cool?
You would think, right? But some people, well, what are you gonna do?
No, but it's thankfully a very good indicator of like the people I'm talking to.
Do you want me to? So I have the backstory that I had written. Do you want me to send that to you, or do you want to read it in the character sheet?
It would be cool if you could send it to me in Discord, so I don't have to get
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the character sheet each time to look at it,
Yeah, no problem.
and we
So
can like pluck in and put in things from there. But
here, I gotta cut it over the character limit. There. All right. So I sent you
also,
his.
would you guys rather have like a combat related ability or an out of combat related ability?
Can you give me an example of what one of these abilities would be?
Combat ability, like I don't know, like just bullshitting, like a bow, or rather, when you shoot your bow, the max distance of your bow. Well, how the fuck? Don't you know the disadvantage range of your bow?
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be completely ignored. Would be like an example of a combat ability.
Mhm.
But an out of character, or not, an out of combat ability is just like I don't know. You can speak to spirits or.
Ooh, I'm on an out of combat.
Yeah, I'll take out of combat. I'll write up a little bit more of the backstory, and if something speaks to you or whatever fits, then
John,
Um,
I'm not gonna write up a backstory. I'm just gonna come to your house and throw a cat through your window.
I don't want you to do that. I would really prefer if you didn't. If there's any amount of money or begging that I could offer you to, so if you don't decide to do that, I would appreciate it. It is raining outside. It would break my glass. There would be rain in the house. Then there will also be a cat in the house and some version of injured.
And it would be
Probably
very
upset.
angry.
Yeah, probably very upset, and I can't go anywhere near it. So
Man, that's funny.
I feel
Uh,
like you won't understand my character until I do that, though.
no, it's not funny. It's actually pretty tragic for literally everyone involved. but
Everyone
Furby.
involved. No, it would be pretty tragic for Furby too once the
I don't
cops got involved.
I live to create havoc.
Oh man, that's
You'll
really
live
funny.
behind bars from henceforth. 'Cause that's not cool.
I don't know if I would live behind bars for that.
Yes, you would. What do you mean?
I think it would
Did you
be.
question as to whether they would take you to jail off of that shit? Because they would.
I think they would probably, and you'd probably get charged with.
What is this probably?
cruelty.
She took
Well-
a cat and threw it through a fucking window with intent to harm. How is that a probably?
Well, I mean, I don't know how. I don't know if she'd be like held without bail, right?
I don't know how the law.
She'd probably be charged with cruelty to an animal, right, and assault.
Damaging
I
a
didn't
person's
assault
property.
John, and I wasn't cruel to him either.
Destruction of purpose, personal property,
Yeah,
like yeah. So there'd be a lot of like misdemeanor charges.
Also,
I
at no
think.
point did I assault John.
You did assault me.
I didn't. I did.
You
I threw the cat
through
in
my
the
fucking
window.
I take that as direct assault.
Assault.
And even if the cat didn't hit me, I'm telling the police it did. So
She threw the cat at me through my window. Yeah, anyway, that sounds good, man. Yeah, I would just say I'm good with either an incompatibility or an out of compatibility. I would just say, you know, if you're gonna like flavor it or whatever, I'm assuming you're gonna come up with whatever they are, rather than
Yeah, based
provide
on
us
your
with
background.
options. So
Um,
yeah, so just read my background and see what you think. I think that it
you
could
can pick from
could
like
work
two
either way.
options I come up with, but it does have to be the options I come up with.
Yeah, that sounds great, dude. Yeah, so just read through the backstory that I sent you. It's not super long. It's like, you know, a couple paragraphs. And I'll tack on to the end of that the stuff we just talked about with regards to how we all sort of met when I have a chance. Which probably won't be until tomorrow. Are we? So do we want to have our first session be in 2 weeks, or do we want to try to do it sooner?
I think if
That
we're
is-
What was that?
doing that schedule, it would be on the 11th of January. Correct.
That sounds correct to me based on.
It's up to you guys. Again, I'm off tomorrow, so I don't give a damn. I would have to get a fourth person though, because Mabel tried to summon apparently up to 3 more people that they wanted to join for whatever reason. But I would have to get a fourth.
Yeah.
I guess I mean that won't take long. But at the same time, I would like enough time to see if the fourth is a gross person.
Yeah, I totally. You know, if we're gonna get a fourth, and we also want to work on a cohesive backstory for all of us, so then let's just plan on the 11th, and we'll keep in touch with respect to like, getting everything sorted with characters and whatnot.
I'm cool with it.
Works for me.
Hey, John. John,
Yeah, what's up?
what if I threw a dog through a window?
Where are you getting these animals to begin with? Actually, is the first question. Secondly, what is your obsession with tossing them through windows? Third, were you psychologically evaluated or?
You've known me long enough to know that that's not something I would do.
Okay, well maybe you should look into that because it might be necessary. If your main focus is how many animals can I possibly throw through his window for no real reason whatsoever.
Oh man.
So, John,
Yeah, what's up?
do you remember that comic, that was really popular for as a meme for a while, where Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde are in a comic, and Judy is pregnant and she's gonna get an abortion?
I don't know what you're talking
Okay,
about.
so there's this comic, right?
What the fuck are you talking
Let me back
about?
up a few steps. So there's this comic, right?
Yeah, back up like a lot of steps.
There's this comic where Judy Hopps is like, Nick, I'm
Is
pregnant, and
I assume, and wants an abortion.
he's like, oh my god, it's wonderful, and she's like, no, it's not my career. I want an abortion. And I'm also over here like, yeah, and whatever horrifying mutant hybrid would pop out of you from the mixture of your DNA.
He'd probably be fucking adorable with this part cat, part rabbit.
Yep,
Nick's a
take care,
fox.
Nick.
Where did I
Yeah.
go?
Alright, I'll see you guys. I gotta get some sleep. So
Plebeian.
Sounds
Alright,
good.
later.
See you later.
see you.